Right now, Hurricane Milton makes landfall on Florida's west coast. The damage being reported as the storm cuts through the state, plus providing relief to those in need. How Wisconsin is answering Florida's call for aid and preserving our natural world. The new Wisconsin license plate helping to save 2 native birds from extinction. It's all ahead on News 3 Now at 10. We start tonight with the story in Tampa. It was more than 2 hours ago that Hurricane Milton made landfall on the Gulf Coast of Florida. The storm, of course, had fluctuated in its intensity, and currently, now that it's made landfall a couple hours ago, it is now a Category 2 storm. Evacuation orders have been issued across 15 counties in Florida, and those counties have a total population of about 7.2 million people. The Tampa metro area is under threat. For over 100 years, it has managed to avoid a major direct hit from a hurricane. But this event, well, it is creating wind, extremely heavy rainfall across the Tampa area, and with an increasing risk of life-threatening flash flooding as well. Lee Waldman is in Tampa with the latest as Milton moves across the Sunshine State.
Waters come up!
I am scared to death of some of these storm surge levels. The values are absolutely dangerous and deadly.
As weather officials say, hide from the wind, run from the water.
If you're going to take that kind of risk, then it'd be best to just write your name on your clothing so we can identify you.
Nearly half of hurricane-related deaths are from storm surge, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. But as Hurricane Milton bears down on the Sunshine State, Floridians are out of time to run.
Don't try to go out now. Don't try to say, I got to get out of here and get to a shelter, because you will die.
Already, the Sunshine State reported the most tornado warnings in a day on record.
We've seen reports of damage, lots of images of those tornadoes, and some of them have been quite long-lasting as well, which is not typical for tornadoes associated with hurricanes. One family in Fort Myers was inside their house when a tornado ripped through their neighborhood.
We all started going for the hallway, didn't even make it there in time, started doop, and I heard a piece of glass crack, and it sucked the whole roof off, and I felt the thing suck me up, and I grabbed my kid and my wife and hunkered down.
Milton is set to leave behind extensive damage, yet first responders can't go out to assess or perform life-saving operations until the wind dies down.
This is a matter of life and death, and I can't put it any more bluntly or directly than that.
In Tampa, Florida, I'm Lee Waldman reporting.
So as Milton carves a path through central Florida, let's go over to meteorologist Blaze Keller for where the storm currently sits. Blaze?
Yeah, you know, again, at about 8 o'clock shortly thereafter, when the eye is about halfway onto the Florida Gulf Coast around the Sarasota area, that's when it is considered to make landfall, a hurricane. So right around 8 o'clock. And since then, Milton has continued to move its way off towards the northeast. And that means that this area right here, south and east of Tampa, is most likely going to experience the strongest winds because they're moving with the motion of the hurricane. The hurricane's moving off towards the northeast. Those winds are turning counterclockwise. So this is going to be the area with the strongest winds. Tampa and those folks on the Florida Gulf Coast are beginning to see that shift in winds more out of the north. So less strong, but still strong is still dangerous nonetheless as heavy rains continue to come on down. We just mentioned, or we saw some of those tornadoes out of Florida. These are all of the tornado reports over the last 24 hours. So in addition to strong winds, heavy rain and storm surge, hurricanes also, because they're rotating, also bring that threat for tornadoes. So over the next couple of hours, Milton is going to continue to push his way off into the Atlantic, finally making its way sometime into the early morning hours on Thursday. And very quickly, Hurricane Milton has been historic really from its beginning, becoming the second fastest hurricane in the Atlantic basin to go from Category 1 to Category 5 in just 18 hours, missing the first spot, at least tying it, by 6 hours. The fastest was about a 12-hour time frame. So a very historic hurricane nonetheless. We're going to talk more about our local weather here in just a few minutes.
All right, Blaze, thanks. Now, this storm expected, of course, to be catastrophic, and it may require help from really all across the country, including utility crews from right here in Wisconsin. The Road Ranger parking lot in South Beloit was full of 23 utility trucks before the sun even came up this morning. 47 journeymen, linemen, and apprentice line workers are bringing a fleet of bucket trucks and other equipment to help restore power wherever they can. Hurricane Helene knocked out electricity for hundreds of thousands of people across Florida, Georgia, and the Carolinas. Well, as of this hour, more than 1.9 million customers in Florida tonight are already without power.
We're going to do homes, make sure that key customers like hospitals and treatment plants are up and running over there too. and then making sure that we get all their main feeders going and to help with the secondary.
The fleet from Wisconsin plans to get to Kissimmee near Orlando by midday tomorrow. This isn't the first time Wisconsin utilities went to Florida to help with a hurricane. They also drove down back in 2022 to help out with Hurricane Ian. And the American Red Cross in Wisconsin also watching this storm closely. Julie Zimmerman, one of over 60 Wisconsinites heading down south to help those impacted by not just one hurricane, but two. Zimmerman is the chief operating officer for the American Red Cross in Wisconsin. She'll be working out of North Carolina with Hurricane Milton now posing a huge threat for Florida's Gulf Coast. The organization preparing manpower and supplies.
We are helping with everything. I mean, everything from evacuation shelters with Milton to continuing to shelter and reunification efforts with Helene down, like I said, in the Carolinas right now.
Well, the Red Cross says there are three main ways you can help, either by volunteering, donating blood, or making a financial donation. You can find a link to donate to the Red Cross right now at channel3000.com. Baxter International says it's resuming partial shipments of its IV fluid bags after Hurricane Helene damaged its North Carolina facility. Medical centers around the country have been conserving their supply of those IV fluid bags since that disruption. IV fluids are used to hydrate patients and deliver medications. In many cases, health officials have come up with alternatives in order to prioritize the fluid bags for patients who need them the most.
We've been able to substitute oral replenishment, oral electrolyte solutions, and hence have been able to lower our utilization by about 50% over the last several days. I would add as well that the patients who are getting oral fluid replenishment are doing extremely well.
Luminous Health says its hospital was informed it'll receive a new shipment from Baxter this week, but it'll only be about 60% of pre-hurricane levels. By the end of the year, it should be up to 90%. Well, the weather back here at home will continue to warm up. Let's go out to the patio with meteorologist Blaze Keller for more details.
And it is a quiet night here across southern Wisconsin. We continue to remain underneath the influence of this dry weather pattern. Series of high pressure systems have continued to keep us dry essentially since the end of August. Now, the clear skies and the drier air mean that we're starting to cool on down. We're in the upper 30s around Sparta, 53 in Madison, 52 in Janesville, 42 in Camp Douglas. Patchy frost may be possible, but we are not expecting any frost advisories here across southern Wisconsin. Here's a look at what we're expecting as we end your Wednesday. Upper 30s to about the upper 40s. Monroe, 48, 46 in Janesville is where we'll end this evening. 54 out there in Milwaukee, 46 Prairie du Chien. Closer to those higher elevations, or in those higher elevations, you're obviously going to be a little bit on the cooler side. So we are going to continue to track maybe just slight wind chills as we head into your morning hours. But again, we've experienced slightly cooler wind chills, to say the least, over the last I would say week to week and a half, so not quite as cold as where we have been. We're going to continue to warm up as we head into your Friday. We are going to talk about frost chances early next week, and we're also going to track out a very good chance for a strong northern light show here Thursday night in the full forecast.
All right, Blaze, thank you. Now to news surrounding the upcoming election. Protesters and supporters marched outside City Hall in Wausau as city council members there evaluated removing the drop box that's in front of the building. Protesters and supporters of Mayor Doug Dinny's actions lined the sidewalk for over an hour, many wearing hard hats, and nodded the picture that Mayor Diddy took of himself at the end of September, moving the city's absentee ballot drop box away on a dolly. And since then, the State Department of Justice has launched an official investigation into the matter. Voters on both sides of the aisle expressing their opinions on the incident.
I think in the end, not having a box, it eliminates any problems, any question about the outcome of election.
And also want to push back against disinformation. I mean, there's a lot been going around the community that ballot drop boxes are not secure, and that's just, you know, it's just the result of these campaigns that get people to believe things that aren't true.
The meeting's public comment period lasted for 75 minutes. Ultimately, no decision was made to remove the drop box or provide any extra funding for the box's security. A new Quinnipiac University poll finds Wisconsin voters with a different top candidate now for president this month. In the latest polling released today, former President Trump now leads Vice President Harris 48-46. Green Party candidate Jill Stein and Libertarian Party candidate Chase Oliver both received 1% support. In the race for the United States Senate, incumbent Senator Tammy Baldwin is ahead of her challenger, Republican Eric Hovde, 50-46%. Minnesota's First Lady Gwen Walz visited Dane County today on behalf of the Harris campaign. And whether it's the First Lady of Minnesota or Wisconsin or of the United States, The spouse of a major official serves a public yet largely undefined role, and that leaves first ladies like Gwen Walz to define the position for themselves. And taking the podium in Wisconsin today, she mirrored several of the Wisconsin governor's routine talking points, like a, quote, opportunity economy for the middle class, reproductive rights, and calling voters to take action ahead of the election.
And it wasn't that many weeks ago when I was knocking on doors and making phone calls in my home state of Minnesota, doing just what you're doing. And then Tim got a different call from Vice President Harris. Yep.
Minnesota's First Lady has campaigned in Wisconsin now 6 times since her husband was selected as the Democratic VP pick. In stark contrast, Republican VP nominee J.D. Vance's wife, Usha, has taken a different approach. She has yet to deliver public remarks since the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee back in July. A new vanity plate option for Wisconsin drivers will help support native birds. Today, the Department of Transportation adding the cranes of Wisconsin to its list of specialized license plate options. It features the endangered whooping crane and the sandhill crane. In addition to the $15 issuance fee, requests for the plates come with an annual tax-deductible donation of $25 to the International Crane Foundation in Baraboo. WISC-TV offers over 10 wildlife-focused plates to generate funds for conservation organizations. When we come back on News 3 Now at 10, Blaze will tell us about the cool down on the way after Friday. And after Hurricane Milton hits Florida, what tropical weather researchers right here in Madison had to say about the increase in hurricane developments. Stay with us.
At RG Heating and Air Conditioning, our promise to you is 100% satisfaction guaranteed. Guaranteed service, repairs, and replacements. Installing quality Trane equipment. Trust your home with RG Heating and AC.
Get an 11% rebate on everything at Menards. Shop our huge selection of Great Lakes vinyl plank flooring. Monarch vinyl plank flooring is durable, pet-friendly, and waterproof. Plus, it features a sound-reducing attached pad. Pick it up for just $339 a square foot after rebate. Check out our great selection of cabinets from Quality One. These ready-to-finish oak kitchen cabinets are ready to take home today. Get an 11% rebate on all Quality One cabinets.
Save big money at Menards.
I worked as a truck driver for 36 years.
And then one day I got this letter.
Your retirement will be cut.
Will be cut in half.
You don't forget something like that.
Every paycheck we put money away. But because of Wall Street greed, boom, it was gone.
But Tammy Baldwin saw what they were doing and wrote a bill to save our retirement.
Then she fought like hell to pass it.
What Tammy Baldwin did for our families, you don't forget something like that.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
With high inflation, working families like mine are hurting, and Kamala Harris helped create this mess. Now, while Americans struggle, Kamala spent our tax dollars putting illegal immigrants up in hotel rooms, and she supported spending our tax dollars to give illegals sex changes. It's not just liberal, it's insane. Kamala Harris can never, ever be our president.
Preserve America PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Career politicians like Peter Barca will say anything to get elected. His latest negative ad against Brian Style, it's been called blatantly false. The truth, Style has always supported IVF. He co-sponsored a resolution supporting IVF. And Style backs legislation to help families afford IVF. Peter Barca can sling mud, but we deserve better than just another lying career politician.
I'm Brian Style, and I approve this message.
Join us at the Madison Fall Parade of Homes, exclusively sponsored by Nuns. Don't miss your chance to visit the area's top newly constructed homes filled with the latest trends and technology. Go to MadisonFallParadeOfHomes.com and purchase your tickets today.
You don't need to battle addiction alone. Contact the great people at Wood Violet Recovery today. You could be on your way to recovery the same day. Wood Violet Recovery works with a wide range of insurance networks, so a large portion of your treatment may be covered. Wood Violet Recovery will create the treatment plan that best suits your needs. Unlike other rehab facilities, phones and laptops are welcome. Today may feel dark, but there's a brighter tomorrow. Contact Wood Violet Recovery now.
There's a lot to love about life in the 608. Fundraisers, farmers markets, family events.
Tell Josh what inspires you, and it might be featured on News 3 Now this morning. In the 608, weekdays only on News 3 Now this morning. You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Hurricane Milton still a threat to millions of residents in Florida as it made landfall tonight. A live look right now. This is Tampa. The storm hit near the Tampa metro area. It was expected to maintain its strength as a Category 3, but has since been downgraded to a Category 2 storm. Forecasters are warning of possible 8 to 12-foot storm surges. On Sunday and Monday, there were 3 hurricanes in October at the same time, which has never happened before. Well, one of the worst storms hit Florida ever. That's what meteorologists were saying about Hurricane Milton. And we already saw its impacts before landfall. That came in the form of tornadoes and heavy winds earlier today. Our chief meteorologist, Alex Harrington, went to UW-Madison's campus to talk with researchers at one of the world's top institutions for tropical weather information.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington, and in preparation for Milton, I thought we better go to some hurricane experts. And I'm not in Washington, D.C. or in Florida. I'm just down the road in downtown Madison, Wisconsin at the Cooperative Institute for Meteorological Satellite Studies, joined by one of our renowned hurricane experts, Sarah Griffin. Sarah, you have a whole suite of tropical weather tools right here in Madison, Wisconsin. Can you explain some of these tools and what we're looking at here?
Yeah, I can. So what we're looking at here in this image, this is Hurricane Milton. This is a visible image. So this is what you see if you happen to be way up in space looking down at Milton. Like if you're in the International Space Station or something, this is a view you see. It makes for very pretty eye candy, but unfortunately we only have it during the daytime. But we have multiple different satellite bands. We don't just use one when we're doing research. So I'm actually going to point you out to this imagery down here.
Oh, here. Okay.
Yes. That is an infrared imagery or IR imagery. And what an IR image is it's available day or night.
And not only do the tools that you have here to look at real-time or current intensities or future potential projections, I know a lot of our viewers are thinking we had Helene just 2 weeks ago. Now we have Milton. I know you folks are renowned for your hurricane research. Can you tell us from your expertise, are we seeing an increase in West Coast Florida landfall of hurricanes?
Over the past few years, we have seen an increase. I mean, we went through a period, but pretty much before 2017, where there was no really major hurricane landfall. Harvey broke that streak back in 2017 when it hit Florida, or excuse me, when it hit Texas. So, and lately, we have had 4 major hurricanes make landfall along the Florida coast in the last 3 years. We had Ian, we had Idalia, now this year we have Helene, and we have now Milton. That's not to say, like, it looks like they're increasing. Sometimes stuff goes in cycles, though. Like, if you go back to 2004, Florida got hit 4 times by 4 different hurricanes. It got hit 3 times in 2005, including by Katrina and Wilma. They're just not really well known at that point because they were much weaker. So we are seeing an increase now. Now, whether that increase is a trend or it's just part of the natural cycle is unsure. But we do know that these storms, when they're hitting right now, they are very strong.
Thanks to Alex and the team at Sims. Back here in Wisconsin, the heat will stick around a couple days more. Here's Blaze with the latest.
That's right. And then we start to add back the chance, at least the first chance, over what seems to be the last couple of weeks for some rain. But it looks like more or less northeastern Wisconsin is going to tap into more of that than, say, here. But we still will see that chance. We've been talking about a big blocking pattern that is caused by a high-pressure system off the Pacific Northwest. We're beginning to see some green pop up there, which to me indicates that that blocking pattern is starting to break down, slowly but surely. I don't think it completely gets removed until we go into the start of November, but it may be weakening. It may be being forced further south as our Aleutian low off the Aleutian Islands up there in Alaska starts to strengthen and forces that high pressure system down. So this green here is actually great news because it forces that drier trend further east off of our, or out of our area rather, and more into the East Coast and then hopefully further east into the Atlantic so that they don't get underneath dry conditions. So I just mentioned we're going to see our chance for some rain as we go into this weekend, starting Friday night, but I think the best chance is actually going to be Sunday, especially into the afternoon, late morning through the mid-afternoon hours as a low pressure system is finally able to move through the Midwest. Up until this point, and unfortunately it kind of looks like it'll stay primarily this way, at least until maybe the start of November, a lot of these systems have been forced into Canada, where they rain themselves out because there's no moisture for them to pick up. And then they move into parts of, say, the northern parts of the United States, bringing down the cooler, drier air, followed by a high-pressure system, which only reinforces that. So this next system starts to move in as we head into Friday, but it really looks like starting Saturday and then possibly into Sunday, as that low moves on through here, we're adding back some green, especially further north and east, where we continue to find the severe drought conditions. So we need the rain across the entire state, but they are suffering the driest conditions across all of Wisconsin. Here across southern Wisconsin, maybe a quarter to a half an inch at best, or a tenth of an inch to a quarter of an inch at best. Further north and east, we start to get to maybe that half an inch to an inch mark as we go over the next 7 days. But this is primarily going to be falling mainly Saturday into, I would say, early Monday morning. This is a quick moving low, and unfortunately, it doesn't have a lot of moisture with it coming out of the northeast. Because we're going to continue to remain dry, that just means that there's going to be a little less cloud cover Thursday night into Friday, when we could see our latest G4 out of G5 geomagnetic northern light show. The last time we had one of these was back in May of 2024, so earlier this year, when we were really able to see those pillars of those northern lights, even in downtown Madison with that light pollution. The best time is going to be from 10 p.m. Thursday into the early morning hours on Friday. This was taken back in May in Olin Park in downtown Madison. Even with that light pollution, you can clearly see those pillars. So we're expecting another good light show here across southern Wisconsin with those clear to mostly clear conditions. So Northern Lights enthusiasts, we've had a couple of good light shows here over the last year to year and a half, and tomorrow night may be another good one. Rain moves in for the weekend, and then we're cooler as we start off next week.
And coming up in sports, it's on to Rutgers for Wisconsin football, while the Badgers say they like playing the role of a villain on the road. That's next on News 3 Now.
News 3 Now First Warn Weather is brought to you by Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor.
Discover a shopping and design experience as comfortable as the furniture. Lazy Boy Home Furnishings and Decor. Schedule your free design consultation today.
At Gruber Law Offices, we know how to win. Real cases, real results. Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
When my husband got throat cancer, it wasn't just a health crisis. It was a financial one for my family. And that's something rural families know all too well. Joan Ballwig voted against expanding affordable health care for rural families and against bringing drug costs down. And that's one reason I decided to run against her. I'm Sarah Kieski, and I'm running for state senate. Because when someone you love needs medical care, the last thing you should have to worry about is how to pay for it.
Think Sloan's first.
We've been with Sloan Implement since my father started farming, my grandfather started farming. They are a family business that's been around for generations, and that's very important to us.
Think Sloan first, now during Gear Up for Fall on a John Deere X350. Built for taking it easy. Get yours with 1.9% for 36 months. Get a John Deere now.
Power up Sloan's. Think Sloan's first.
My name is Norma. I'm a two-time Trump voter. I will not be voting for Trump this time around. I'm voting for Kamala Harris. I cannot support Trump again because I don't trust him. I feel he's a liar. I feel he's for himself. I feel like he's going to take our country down a really evil, dark path. I want to be on the right side of history, and voting for Trump would be on the wrong side of history.
Republican Accountability PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I'm Tammy Baldwin, and I approve this message.
I am totally opposed to abortion.
You heard him.
I am totally opposed to abortion.
What would Eric Hovde do in the Senate? Mitch McConnell and extremists would gain a majority. The power to ban abortion nationwide. No exceptions for rape or incest. Criminal penalties for doctors. More extreme anti-abortion judges on the courts.
I am totally opposed to abortion.
Eric Hovde, what's wrong with this guy?
Old windows compromise your home's comfort. Vinyl windows, a 1970s relic, aren't built for extreme weather. They warp and crack, becoming vulnerable to the elements. At Next Door & Window, we have the answer. Fiberglass. Our Ultrex fiberglass windows last up to 50 years, longer than any other window you can buy. And while other companies cut corners and never call you back, we've got your back. When you demand tomorrow's comfort, Next delivers. Visit nextwindow.com to learn more.
We're often asked,
is it really free to hire Gruber Law Offices?
The answer is yes. The call, the consultation, free. You pay nothing until we win your case. Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all.
Wisconsin football heads back out on the road this weekend with a trip to Piscataway, New Jersey for a showdown with Rutgers. Saturday will be the 6th meeting between the two programs. The Badgers know that the environment is going to be a little different than it was at Camp Randall. They won't have 80,000 cheering fans cheering them on. Instead, they're walking into the stadium as a villain, and playing that role fires this group up.
We travel 70-something guys. And that's all we got, but that's all we need. So all the other BS is kind of out the picture, and we got our 70 guys. That's who we brought to the fight, and that's who we're going to war with.
There's something special about having the feeling that everybody's against you, and you're like all the guys are there, the only people you got, and there's something special behind that.
Well, to get ready for their road trip to Rutgers, be sure to check out this week's Wisconsin Huddle with Tawee Walker. Show starts at 6:30 on Friday, right here on News 3 Now. Up at 1265 Lombardi Avenue, Xavier McKinney has been named the NFC Defensive Player of the Week for his performance against the Rams. McKinney recorded 2 takeaways, an interception and a fumble recovery that both led to Green Bay touchdowns. He's the first Packer to have a pick in 5 straight games since Irv Comp did it way back in 1943. Wisconsin men's hockey had one tune-up before they dropped the puck for real on Friday, and it was good. Mike Hastings' squad rallied from 2 goals down to win in overtime on the road. But in reality, that game didn't happen. On Friday, the real season begins where everything counts toward the end goal of playing for a national championship. And you could say the Badgers are ready to let their skates do the talking.
The guys that scored goals, the guys that had 4 or 5 shots on net, you can't find that anywhere other than the score sheet because those stats don't matter. And so now they matter. These guys are ready to go play. And this is what they trained for all summer. The opportunity that they went through last weekend, they've taken that, turned the page, and are now excited about it counting.
And staying on the ice, Cole Caulfield wasted no time to light the lamp. First game of the season for the former Badger, and Caulfield sends it top shelf where Mama keeps those cookies to net Montreal's first goal of the season, and that'd be the game winner. Caulfield leads the Canadiens past the Maple Leafs with his golden goal in that first period. We're back after this.
Kamala Harris is going to significantly raise taxes.
Taxes are going to have to go up?
Kamala's plan will raise families' taxes by nearly $2,600 a year. Under Kamala, prices have already soared. Now she'd make it worse with even higher taxes.
Taxes are going to have to go up?
President Trump will cut taxes again. No taxes on tips, overtime, or Social Security.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
Fentanyl is one of the most lethal drugs on the market. This much can kill thousands. These deadly drugs are pouring across our border. But Biden, Harris, and Democrats have done nothing to stop it. Tammy Baldwin claims she's trying, but she's failed. She took credit for an anti-fentanyl bill she didn't write and opposed efforts to secure the border. Senator Baldwin and Democrats have done nothing, and our communities are paying the price.
I'm Eric Hovde. I approve this message.
This is Ford Truck Month, with big offers on the trucks that don't subscribe to the word impossible. Like the off-road ready Ranger, the adaptable Maverick, plus plus F-Series, America's best-selling trucks, featuring the 2024 Ford F-150 and Super Duty, the North American Truck of the Year, all with offers that make owning one possible. This is Ford Truck Month. Choose FlexBuy on F-150 and get 1.9 APR financing for 66 months plus $2,000 FlexBuy and $1,000 open bonus cash. See your Wisconsin Ford dealer.
I'm Joan Ballwig, and here at the shop we have solutions both big and small. And that's why I fought in Madison for historically large increases for our fire, police, and EMS, and made sure that our small businesses had the permits that they needed to operate. I delivered millions for ag and rural road funding and created the one-day fishing license. I brought both sides together to make sure that our kids can both read and write. And those are both really big things, but you get the idea.
Quartz takes a different approach to health insurance. We know every life well lived is a journey, and we're here to light the way at every step. That's why for 40 years we've been alongside the doctors and hospitals who know what their communities need, because they're a part of them, because we're a part of them. There's a fire burning in all of us. Let's ignite it together. Quartz. Find your spark.
The First Warn Weather Team takes you beyond the barometer, only on News 3 Now.
Tonight on The Late Show, my guest is Anderson Cooper. He went to Yale, but so did J.D. Vance.
Tonight on CBS.
Well, this is a live look. This is Jacksonville as Milton makes its way cutting across the state of Florida. The power outage is a big issue, 1.9 million. That was at the top of the hour, so that's going to be a major issue.
Yeah, I know I think there's even some evacuation orders in Jacksonville because of some flooding too.
Rain, so we'll see where it goes from here.
But back at home, quiet, some patchy frost as you're heading to work and sending the kids off to school tomorrow, but we're back in the 70s with sunny conditions.
Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10, folks. Have a great night.